Welcome to a new week on Anglia Tonight.
First tonight, the knife attack in a quiet residential street in our region that could end a Premier League footballer's career.
Calum Davenport had been visiting his mother in Bedford at the weekend when he was repeatedly stabbed in both legs.
Well, tonight the West Ham defender is in a serious but stable condition after undergoing surgery, and his sister's boyfriend has been charged with the attack. Matthew Hudson has more.
Cara Davenport leaving court today. Her brother, Premiership footballer Calum Davenport, is in hospital with serious injuries. Her boyfriend, Worrell Whitehurst, the man accused of inflicting them. Calum was stabbed 6 times in the legs during a confrontation on his mother Kim Stupple's driveway in Bedford in the early hours of Saturday morning. She also suffered a stab wound.
I nearly went to the window to shout out to shut up because they woke me up in the early hours of the morning. But then I looked out and I saw somebody lying on the pavement, and then the ambulances arrived.
Tonight, the West Ham defender, seen here training with Norwich City, remains in a serious but stable condition. His footballing future is in the balance. In court, it was said doctors fear he could still lose a leg. His mother is recovering well in Bedford Hospital. Worrell Whitehurst was arrested at his address in Derby on Saturday afternoon. Today, here at Bedford Magistrates Court, he faced 4 charges, causing grievous bodily harm to Calum Davenport and actual bodily harm to his mother. In addition, he's charged with possession of an offensive weapon, a kitchen knife, and with driving whilst disqualified. Calum Davenport was born in Bedford in 1983. He made his debut for Coventry City as a 17-year-old trainee, going on to represent England at under-21 level. In 2004, the 6'4" defender moved to Tottenham Hotspur for just over £1 million. While at Spurs, he was loaned out to 3 other clubs, including Norwich for 3 months in 2005. In January 2007, he joined West Ham for a reported £3 million. Yet to play in the Premier League this season, he'd been linked with a move away from the Hammers. This morning, a 19-year-old youth who'd been arrested in connection with the same incident has been released on police bail, pending further inquiries. 25-year-old Whitehurst left court by prison van after being remanded in custody. He'll next appear at Luton Crown Court on November the 16th. Matthew Hudson, Anglia News, Bedford Magistrates Court.
Well, of course, we'll keep you right up to date with that story as it develops.
A man's recovering at home after spending the night on mud flaps on the North Norfolk coast after his boat capsized.
Trevor Yarker from March in Cambridgeshire climbed onto the hull and had to wait several hours before the tide brought him close enough to swim to shore, where he was marooned in the dark.
Well, Malcolm Robertson is at Cley Next to see for us now. Malcolm, a frightening experience for Mr. Yarker.
Yes, and certainly a very dramatic day for these Coast Guards along the Norfolk coast. Very dramatic day also for Trevor Yarker. And these Coast Guards say he is very lucky to be alive, clinging as he was for 5 hours to the top of his upturned dinghy, which capsized in the North Sea yesterday afternoon. He eventually swam some 20 minutes ashore and spent the night traipsing through the marshes along the North Norfolk coast before he was discovered about 8:30 this morning, tired, bedraggled, but alive. And Coast Guards say there are lessons, important lessons, to be learnt from this. Trevor Yarker's fortunate to be alive. At his home in March today, he's been recalling the dramatic events of the past 24 hours. He was alone in his inflatable dinghy, having sailed from Cley on the North Norfolk coast early yesterday afternoon. His problems began when his boat developed engine problems. While trying to fix it, the boat overturned. Now, luckily, he was wearing a life jacket and was able to scramble on top of the upturned hull. But unluckily, his mobile phone got soaked in the water and he was unable to use it. Drifting out to sea in a strong current, he was unable to summon help or contact his wife Dolores, having told her he expected to be home at about 9 o'clock.
I thought this is the end for me. I actually prayed to God, you know, I hope I can get out of this one, you know. I don't want to die, I've got to get out of this one, you know.
For several hours he drifted out to sea, but at around 9 o'clock the tide turned and his boat began to be pushed back towards the coast. In pitch darkness, he decided to jump for it and swim ashore. He spent the night on the marshes, walking several miles through the village of Blakeney until he arrived back at Cley at around 8 o'clock this morning. Coastguards had been alerted by his wife, worried about his safety. Stuart Facey found him looking tired and bedraggled.
And when we found him this morning, he was just returning to his car. So he'd obviously spent a very worrying night on the marshes, and luckily there's a good end to the story.
He's a lucky man.
He's a very lucky man. I've been in the Coast Guard service 27 years now, and this is one for the record books as far as I'm concerned, because that chap was a lucky man.
Back home in March, Trevor Yarker was apparently none the worse for his overnight ordeal.
I just virtually collapsed. Not through so much exhaustion through doing a lot of swimming, but just happiness, really. Although I'd seen my pride and joy going out to sea, I didn't care about that anymore, you know, just happy to be back on land, you know. I thought I'd never going to see land again, you know.
Tonight, an inshore lifeboat from Sheringham was dispatched to pick up an inshore dinghy found in the surf at Cley, only to discover that it isn't Mr. Yarker's. Who it belongs to, they still don't know.
Well, Malcolm, let's talk about that boat that has been found. Any news about the owner of that one?
Yes, alert over on that one, Jonathan. The lifeboat crew have discovered that the dinghy they found this evening actually belongs to people who were just along the beach enjoying themselves, so Mr. Yarker's boat is still missing. What the Coast Guards are saying is, yes, he did exactly the right thing wearing a life jacket, but he should have done a lot more. He should have had distress flares on board, he should have had a radio, and anybody going out to sea in a boat like this should always inform the Coast Guards at what time they're leaving and at what time they're due back, and if he'd done that, it would have saved a lot of concern here today.
Malcolm, thanks very much. Thousands of people have been making their way home today after the V Festival in Chelmsford over the weekend. Razorlight, Lily Allen and The Script were among the lineup this year.
But there was one notable act missing, and that was Oasis. And today, Liam Gallagher apologised to fans for not being there. He went down with laryngitis and says his voice still hasn't come back. Lauren Carter reports.
It's the morning after the night before, and it's time to go home. But as thousands of people left their campsites at Highlands Park in Chelmsford this morning, there was one main topic of conversation: why headliners Oasis pulled out.
I think some people, it's not so bad for me because I've seen them before, but I think some people actually only came here just to see them, so I think they're pretty gutted.
I wasn't really that bothered because I just keen for everyone else anyway, so a lot of people were really angry though, I think.
It was real disappointment, I think. There's lots of boos.
A spokesman for Oasis said after a year of being on the road, this is the first time the band have cancelled because of illness. Oasis managed to headline at Staffordshire on Saturday, but they cancelled their performance in Essex after lead singer Liam Gallagher was diagnosed with viral laryngitis. But there were plenty of other acts to entertain fans over the weekend, including Dizzy Rascal, Amy Winehouse and The Killers. There were around 80,000 people on both days, and police have praised fans after crime dropped from 76 incidents last year to 51.
Got lots of people camping on the site, so we do suffer from thefts from the tents, which we've reduced this year. We also had a few minor assaults and some drug offences, but we've dealt very positively with the drug offences this year. You know, it's not acceptable to bring drugs into the county and to deal drugs at the V Festival, and we've dealt very positively with drug offenders.
Now the fun's over, the clean-up operation is in full swing. It's thought volunteers will pick up more than 280 tonnes of rubbish. It will take around 2 weeks to get this park back to normal. By then, it will be hard to tell that it hosted some of the biggest names in the music industry. Except Oasis, that is. Lauren Carter, Anglia News.
Still look pretty good.